Your dog just ate a sock. It's the third time this week. It will not learn from this. It is currently looking at you with a level of vacant innocence that suggests there is absolutely nothing going on behind those eyes. And yet, 4,000 years ago, an entire civilization looked at this exact animal, this same sock-eating, tail-chasing creature, and decided it deserved a formal burial, a proper funeral, and in some cases, its own state-funded priesthood. We aren't talking about a few eccentric pet owners.
We're talking about an actual, organized religious institution built around dogs. So how did the neighborhood menace become one of the most spiritually significant figures in human history? To understand that, we have to look at how ancient Egypt viewed the boundary between our world and the next. If you've ever scrolled through Egyptian art, you've seen Anubis. He's the imposing, sleek, black-headed figure who guided the dead through the underworld and weighed their hearts against a feather to determine their eternal fate. For centuries, every textbook told us Anubis was a jackal. But here's the part that genuinely changes how we look at him. He probably wasn't. Modern DNA analysis of ancient remains suggests the animal depicted as Anubis was actually an early African wolf, or more likely, a domesticated dog. Think about the weight of that. Egypt didn't choose a lion for this role.
They didn't choose a hawk or a crocodile. They chose a dog. The animal responsible for judging whether your soul was worthy of paradise was the same species currently judging you for eating a sandwich without sharing. They believed that the loyalty and sixth sense dogs seem to have for danger made them the only creatures qualified to navigate the terrifying shadows of the afterlife.
But Anubis was just the beginning. If you want to see how far this devotion went, we have to go to Saqqara. In 2015, archaeologists entered a series of tunnels and found something that genuinely stunned the scientific community. They discovered a massive, sprawling underground catacomb filled with the mummified remains of an estimated 8 million dogs. To put that in perspective, if you mummified every single dog in a medium-sized modern city, you wouldn't even come close to this number. This wasn't a pet cemetery that got slightly out of hand over a weekend. This was industrial-scale religious production that ran for centuries.
Pilgrims would travel from all over the Nile Delta to these sites. They would purchase a mummified dog from a local merchant, much like you might buy a candle to light in a church today, and dedicate it as a prayer offering to Anubis. The idea was that the dog would carry your message directly to the god. It was a massive part of the Egyptian economy, but it had a dark side that researchers are only just beginning to understand. This is where the story gets a bit uncomfortable. When researchers from Cardiff University began scanning these 8 million mummies, they expected to find old dogs that had died of natural causes. Instead, they found that a staggering number of them were just days or weeks old. Most showed no signs of disease or injury.
The implication is heavy. There were massive breeding farms specifically designed to produce puppies for the sole purpose of being mummified to meet religious demand. It's a strange, haunting thought. An entire supply chain of life created specifically to become an eternal offering. It shows that for the Egyptians, the spiritual utility of the dog was sometimes even more important than its life as a companion. They weren't just killing animals. In their minds, they were sending messengers to the gods as fast as the market required.
However, if we move away from the temples and into the homes, we see a completely different side of the story. For the average Egyptian family, dogs were family. We see them in tomb paintings everywhere, curled up under chairs during lavish banquets, clearly waiting for a piece of roast duck to fall. We know they were loved because we have found their collars. These weren't just leather straps. They were often beautifully crafted, and many were inscribed with the dog's name. We found names like Ken, which is simple enough,
But we also found one that translates roughly to useless.
Imagine that for a second. Someone 3,500 years ago loved their dog enough to pay for a custom engraved collar, yet they were honest enough to name that dog useless. It is the driest, most relatable joke in recorded history. It proves that despite the thousands of years and the different gods, the experience of owning a dog who does absolutely nothing but look cute is a universal human constant.
The depth of this bond is best described by the Greek historian Herodotus. He noted that when a cat died in an Egyptian household, the family would shave their eyebrows as a sign of mourning. But when a dog died, the family would shave their entire bodies. In a society as obsessed with grooming and status as Egypt, shaving your head and body was the ultimate public display of heartbreak. And for the elite, the bond went even further. Pharaohs like Amenemhat I were often buried with their favorite dogs. In one spectacular discovery, a dog was found mummified and placed in its own coffin, treated with the same ceremonial honors as a high-ranking official, positioned right next to its owner to keep guarding them in the next world.
So why did they do it? Why build the pyramids and also build an 8 million dog tomb? Because the Egyptians understood something we still feel today. Dogs are guardians. In life, they alert us to the stranger at the door. In death, the Egyptians believed they did the same thing, guarding the soul against the demons of the underworld. So, the next time your dog barks at a leaf or eats something it definitely shouldn't, just remember, you are looking at a creature that an entire empire believed was the only thing standing between them and eternal darkness. And honestly, looking at how confidently your dog barks at absolutely nothing, it probably thinks it's up for the job.